Zombies 4: Dawn of the Vampires is ranked the #1 movie in 38 countries, and on the Disney Channel premiere day, it received a total of 0.6 million views. They face zombies, werewolves, and even aliens, and just when we thought the saga was complete, Disney said, "One more." Zombies 4: Dawn of the Vampires is here, a brand new chapter in the monster musical universe we've been following for years. New setting, familiar faces, fresh drama, and yes, even more singing. This time, a new group steps into the spotlight, mysterious vampires and powerful daywalkers that shake things up like never before. But does this fourth installment live up to the hype, or is it finally time to let the franchise rest in peace? Let's get into it. Spoiler warning. This review contains spoilers, so if you haven't watched the movie yet, hit pause and come back when you're done. The movie opens with an animated intro narrated by Zed and Addison. They recap the events of the previous 3 movies, how zombies, werewolves, and aliens were each introduced, and explain that the core 4, Zed, Addison, Eliza, and Willa, are now attending Mountain College. They also introduce a legend about how 2 new species, vampires and daywalkers, both are said to have been created by another moonstone that crashed to Earth. The same one is responsible for the growth of their blood fruit, which both groups rely on to survive. Addison even claims the galactic moonstone created zombies, werewolves, and aliens, but this doesn't really line up with what we were told in the original Zombies movie. Originally, zombies were created by a strange accident at a local nuclear power plant. A lime soda bottle fell into a vat, triggering an explosion that released a green haze across the west side of Seabrook, turning half the population into zombies. The werewolves introduced in Zombies 2 got their powers from a different moonstone, an ancient mystical one buried deep in the forest. That stone was connected to their culture, nature, and traditions. There was no hint it had anything to do with the zombies or aliens. It stood apart as something unique to the werewolves. And then there are aliens in Zombie 3. They didn't need a moonstone at all. They arrived using advanced technology while searching for a new home planet. Their power source came from Addison's DNA, not from a magical rock. So now with Zombies 4 tying everything to the moonstone, it feels a little confusing, like a retroactive attempt to connect the groups that originally had separate, distinct backstories. The more they use the moonstone as a catch-all explanation, the less meaningful it feels. What started as something special for the werewolves is now being stretched thin. We then head over to Zed, who's talking about his plans to attend football camp this summer. One thing I noticed right away was his hair. It looked darker, almost black-like, compared to the vibrant green zombie hair he sported throughout the series. Next we cut to Addison, who's also headed off to camp. Hers is for cheerleading. I couldn't help but notice her hair as well. In this movie, it appears whiter again, more like how it was in the first and second film. This time, it has streaks that lean more purple than blue. I know her hair only turns fully blue when she's with her people, the aliens, but honestly, I expected them to keep more of the blue from the third movie. That would have been a nice visual nod to her alien heritage. Maybe they chose to bring back the white-based look to reflect the original style, blending both parts of her identity. After these quick updates from Zed and Addison, we jump into the first musical number, Legends in the Making. This song gives us a snapshot of where everyone is at after the first year at Mountain College, and what their summer plans look like. Each character reflects on how college life is pushing them to grow. Zed talks about football camp, but now he's feeling the pressure. Back in Seabrook, he was the big hero. Now he's fighting just to earn a spot on the team. Addison faces a similar reality. She's off to a world-class cheer camp, but even being part alien isn't giving her the edge she expected. Both realize that what made them stand out in Seabrook isn't enough anymore. They'll have to work harder than ever to shine again. Meanwhile, Eliza and Willa are absolutely thriving. Eliza's flying through her science program, literally skipping 2 grades, and Willa is confidently leading a new pack. But both admit they haven't spent much time with their friends lately. There's a subtle sadness in the song, especially as Zed and Addison realize they won't see each other this summer. They say it's going to feel like forever being apart, and you can really feel the emotional shift. It's a strong opening that blends hype with heart. It shows how everyone's chasing their dreams, but at the same time, they're quietly mourning how much their relationship and their world are changing. During the final part of the song, we even get a fun cameo from Shrimpy, the iconic mascot from Seabrook High. It made me wonder if Shrimpy also the mascot for Mountain College now, or was he just visiting to bring a bit of Seabrook spirit to campus? I actually heard in an interview that the director of the movie really wanted Shrimpy on this movie because he loved that character. And it was a fun Easter egg for longtime fans and a nice reminder of where it all started. From there, the story shifts and we're introduced to the Daywalkers. And yes, they're out in the daytime. We see them training on the beach for a mission to find more of their blood fruit, which is dying off. Without it, they can't survive, so this trip is crucial. Nova is leading the group, but she suddenly has a vision about a mysterious boy. Her dad shows up and snaps her out of it, clearly frustrated. She's supposed to be running the recruits through their training, not daydreaming. When Nova turns to the group and announces, "Our journey begins!" It gave me Hunger Game vibes, like she's about to lead them into something much bigger than just a supply run. On the night side, we meet the vampires, who are also preparing for their quest to find the blood fruit. Victor is supposed to be helping get everything ready, but he's nowhere to be found, until he suddenly flies in, making a dramatic entrance. Vera calls him out, saying she thought he was supposed to be the next leader, but is tired of covering for him whenever he disappears. Victor, though, is just excited. He's dreaming of life outside of Shadyside and can't wait to see the world. Vera quickly grounds him, reminding him that most vampires are terrified to leave their home. This sets up clear contrast. Victor wants freedom and adventure, but his community is still held back by fear. Then we return to the main group as Addison, Zed, Willa, and Eliza leave Mountain College for the summer. Zed and Addison are heading off to their respective camps, and Willa and Eliza will be borrowing Zed's car for their own camping trip. While Zed's driving, he's on the phone with his coach talking about nonstop football training. But Willa's had enough of the constant football talk. She grabs his phone and chucks it out the window. Zed panics, and Addison in the backseat worries about cheer camp and things start to unravel. Then out of nowhere, a strange wave of energy passes over them. Zed's Z-band starts glitching and he begins to zombie out while driving. Suddenly, he yanks the steering wheel hard and the car swerves wildly. I found it odd that whatever affected Zed didn't seem to hit Eliza since she's also a zombie. Even after Zed snaps back to normal, the car chaos continues. The steering wheel is broken and he has no control. Aimed the panic, Eliza shouts, "Save the marshmallows!" The random bit of humor in the middle of a crisis, classic zombie energy. Zed recovers just in time, right before the car crashes. When everyone scrambles out, Eliza immediately announces the marshmallows are safe, which honestly made me laugh. Zed, he was way too hyped, acting like the near disaster was the coolest thing ever, saying, "That was awesome," like it was some thrill ride instead of a total mess. Once the chaos settles, the groups realize they need to split up to find help. Eliza and Willa head off in one direction, while Zed and Addison are meant to take the other. Before they go, Zed and Addison share a quiet moment talking about how much they've missed each other. Not just now, but throughout the school year. They know they'll be off at their own camp soon and won't see each other for the rest of the summer either. So it felt like a little surprise when instead of sticking together, Zed and Addison end up going in completely different directions, especially since they're in the middle of nowhere with no idea how far it will be until they find help. It would have made way more sense for them to stay together for safety and for the chance to reconnect after such a busy year apart. Zed ends up walking straight into the world of the Daywalkers, though he doesn't realize it at first. In fact, he's totally oblivious to the fact he just crossed the magical barrier. The world he was in and the Daywalkers' territory are both sunny and somewhat familiar, so the shift isn't obvious at first glance. Still, the moment he spots what looks like a small town in the distance, you think he'd question it, but he doesn't. He's too focused on finding help to notice anything strange. Back on Addison's side, her transition is far more obvious. She stumbles across a strange patch of land, and as soon as she steps forward, Her surroundings shift from day to night. Confused, she steps backwards, and everything turns back to daylight again. She repeats this a few times, realizing there's a clear, invisible barrier separating two different worlds. Because the shift between light and dark is so dramatic, she catches on faster than Zed and becomes more cautious. Meanwhile, the Daywalkers are preparing to head underground through tunnels. Nova warns everyone to stay alert, and right then, Zed suddenly appears, completely unaware that he stumbled into their secret world. Of course, he's way too cheerful and casual about it. He walks right up and says, "Hello, hi, I'm Zed. I was wondering if you guys had a mechanic I could use?" Like it's the most normal thing in the world. As the Daywalkers begin to surround him, Zed starts to panic and tells them to calm down. Nova steps up and accuses him of being a vampire. Zed quickly corrects her. "I'm not a vampire, I'm a zombie." Nova remains skeptical and demands to know who he is and how he got there. Zed explains that his Z-Band malfunctioned, his car crashed, and he ended up lost trying to find help. At that moment, the Daywalker commander, who we learn is Nova's dad, arrives. He immediately suspects Zed might be a vampire spy. Nova defends him, pointing out that he doesn't even have fangs. That seems to convince the commander, at least temporarily, and he agrees to let Zed stay, but only if Nova keeps a close eye on him. Back with Addison, she spots a town nestled in the valley and wonders if someone there might know what's going on. Hoping for answers, she heads down to check it out. But the moment the vampires catch sight of her, they mistake her for a daywalker and immediately use their powers to trap her in a swirling windstorm. Addison's terrified, spinning through the air, yelling for someone to get her down. Once they calm the wind and let her down, she thanks them and explains she's not a daywalker, she's a cheerleader. Just then, Victor's aunt notices something strange and walks over to investigate. She asks Victor who the creature is, but before he can explain, he blurts out how beautiful she looks today. His aunt is unimpressed and coldly reminds him their family bloodline is full of vigilant, hardworking leaders, traits that clearly skipped him. The other vampires overhear and burst out laughing at his expense. She then suggests throwing Addison into the dungeon, but Addison quickly tells her to wait. In that moment, Addison raises her hand and everyone panics, thinking she's about to unleash some kind of firepower. They all duck. Addison quickly explains it's just her Luma lens and that she's part alien, not a daywalker. Victor, still confused, calls her a part alien cheer thing and somehow convinces his aunt to let Addison help pick their blood fruit. His aunt warns him that he's in charge of Addison and if anything goes wrong, he'll be sent to the dungeon. As the group continues moving, Victor gets bumped and a picture falls out of his pocket. Addison picks it up and notices it's a drawing of a girl. When she asks who it is, Victor says he's not sure. It's just someone he keeps dreaming about. The detail really stood out to me, especially since we've already seen Nova having visions of Victor. The fact that he's dreaming about her too gave me Descendants vibes. In the first book, Isle of the Lost, Ben and Mal have dreams about each other before they even meet. And of course, they finally do in the first movie. It's a subtle nod, but if you're familiar with Descendants lore, it feels like a deliberate parallel. We then get another song, "The Place to Be," which really stands out. It tells us a lot about both daywalkers and vampires. At first, it plays like a fun back and forth, with each group hyping themselves up and throwing a little shade at the other. The daywalkers boast about their solar power and the bright energy they bring, while the vampires lean into their cool, mysterious moonlit vibes, but wanting more than what their people have. The vampires and daywalkers eventually both reach the end of their tunnels, which lead to the area where the blood fruit is located. The daywalkers have no problem stepping out. They're used to the sun. But what's more interesting is how the vampires react. When they get their first glimpse of sunlight, it's so bright that they start shielding their faces with their hands until their eyes adjust. Now here's where I got confused. I always thought vampires couldn't be in the sun at all, that it would either harm them or at least weaken them significantly. But then Fergus, one of the vampires, casually says the whole bursting into flames thing is just a myth, and that the sun actually feels like a warm, cozy blanket. The vampires have lived their whole lives underground in complete darkness. You think their bodies would react more dramatically to daylight, not just a bit of squinting. It honestly felt like the movie skipped over what should have been a huge moment for them. The two groups finally realized they headed to the same place to collect the blood fruit, something both their communities rely on to survive. Once that clicks, the vampires and daywalkers start racing toward the gate, only to find it locked. This is also where Victor and Nova kind of meet for the first time, though they don't actually say anything to each other yet. The Daywalker commander demands an explanation from the vampires, asking what they're doing at the orchard. But the Eldris is just as annoyed and throws the question right back at him. Both groups start accusing each other of being thieves, telling the other side to back off, even threatening to soar over the gate to get what they came for. It's clear neither side is willing to back down, even though they're in the exact same situation. I get that vampires and daywalkers don't exactly get along, but since they clearly know about each other and both survive on blood fruit, it shouldn't be that shocking to find the other group there too. Their reaction felt a little dramatic given their circumstances. Then Eliza and Willis suddenly show up, which makes you wonder how they even got there. It would have helped to have a quick overhead shot of them walking to try and find help, just to give some context. When they left the car earlier, we didn't see anything from them, so their arrival felt kind of abrupt. Maybe the path they took actually led them to the same orchard area, but the movie doesn't show us that. Addison tells Vera they can't just fly over the gate because a force field blocks it. To prove her point, she throws a stone which bounces off the invisible barrier. Everyone realizes the situation is more complicated than it first appeared. As they wonder how to get past the locked gate, Addison and Zed start looking around and discover the gates require 3 keys to open. Thankfully, clues nearby hint at where to find some of them. Tension rises again when the Daywalker commander orders his group to guard the gate, while the Eldritch tells the vampires to ready themselves, preparing for the worst. Addison quickly steps in and asks them to wait. She has a proposal. She suggests that if each side gathers a group of their young leaders, those leaders can work together to find the keys, and both sides can share the harvest. Willis supports the idea and points to a sign showing the camp's direction, suggesting they can stay there as well. The vampires and daywalkers question why they should trust Addison, Zed, Eliza, and Willa. After all, they don't really know them. They're living proof that monsters can coexist. The Daywalker commander is the first to accept the idea, appointing Nova to lead their group. The Eldritch agrees, choosing Victor to lead the vampires. The commander pulls Nova aside for a private conversation. He tells her that once the gates open, she's to take as much of the blood food as she can, even if it means leaving the vampires with nothing. Nova is visibly shaken and reminds him they're just agreed to share. He brushes it off, insisting there isn't enough and it's either them or the vampires. You can tell she's torn. She wants to earn her father's respect and doesn't want to disappoint him, but she clearly hates the idea of wiping out an entire group just to follow orders. Fear and uncertainty flickers across her face as she reluctantly agrees, not because she believes in the plan, but because she's afraid to go against her father. The two groups head to camp and settle in for the night. But some of the daywalkers are visibly terrified. They've never experienced the darkness before. But some of the daywalkers are visibly terrified. They've never experienced the darkness before. The vampires find it amusing and can't help but laugh. It's a small moment, but it adds to the world building. One area is always bright, another stuck in darkness, and the orchard where the bloodfruit grows experiences both day and night. They're also close geographically, yet each feels completely different. It doesn't totally make sense logically, but it fits the movie's fantasy vibes. Nova and Victor exchange a glance and smile again. Some daywalkers are clearly freaking out by the darkness, which makes sense since they've apparently never experienced nighttime before. The vampires naturally find this hilarious and mock them. The daywalkers and vampires start to bicker, clearly annoyed with each other. Zed, ever the overexcited one, jumps in to break the tension. He throws his arms around Vera and Ray, telling them how the camp reminds him of his old zombie summer camp and how he always wanted to be a leader back then, and now finally he gets to be one. It's meant to be lighthearted and goofy, but the underlying tension between the groups remains. As they explore the camp, they notice it's covered in both vampire and daywalker symbols. Ray mutters that the place was probably a daywalker camp before the vampires came and ruined it. According to him, that's what their commander always says, that vampires ruin everything. Vera fires back with a ridiculous claim that her eldritch says daywalkers eat soap to make their insides shiny. Ray tries to defend himself, but ends up getting a laughed at. This back and forth banter makes it clear just how deep the divide runs between vampires and daywalkers, and not just on a personal level. Their leaders have clearly passed down generations of mistrust and bias, which only fuels the tension in moments like this. Willa walks into the vampire's cabin and immediately notices their beds actually look like coffins, and she's generally unsure if they really sleep in them. Vera, quick with a jab, mocks her by saying they don't call them coffins, just beds, and laughs at Willa. Willa's clearly over it. She tells them to go to bed, but of course, the vampires ignore her. Until she gets serious, Willa warns them that while vampires may use their fangs for eating, she doesn't, then flashes her own fangs. That's enough to scare them straight to bed. Outside, Zed is struggling to start the fire the old-fashioned way, rubbing two sticks together, with zero success. A passing daywalker casually shoots out a quick fireball to help him, which surprises Zed but gets the job done. Addison comes out and sits beside him. She opens up about how tough the year has been, especially not getting to see Zed or go back home over the summer. She mentions that Bucky just got back from space. Zed adds that Bree and Bonzo started their first summer job, and Addison shares that Willa told her Winter is now teaching meditation, which makes them both laugh. I really appreciated that even though Bucky, Bree, Bonzo, and Winter weren't physically in the movie, the writers didn't forget about them. Each got a quick shout out letting us know what they were been up to, whether it's Bucky coming back from space, Winter teaching meditation. It was a small touch that shows the movie still cares about the original crew and wanted to keep them continuity alive for fans. Addison then says she's glad they ended up on this little unplanned adventure. She adds that watching Victor and Nova's love for each other reminds them of them. Meanwhile, Nova stands alone on the porch of her cabin, and Victor sits quietly by his window, looking at the sketch he drew of her from his dreams back home. We hear the intro version of A Dream Come True. It's a soft, almost dreamlike moment. They can see each other, but don't fully connect yet. That's what makes it so powerful. The song captures the instant connection, like they've known each other forever. Even the simple line, "It's really you," carries strong emotion. This intro sets the tone for everything that follows, especially when the full version of the song finally plays later on. The idea that they've been dreaming of each other and now slowly realizing they're real gives this moment a beautiful kind of magic. The next day, Zed and Willa try to rally the vampires, while Addison and Eliza urge the Daywalkers to cooperate in finding the keys to open the gates. But neither side is willing to team up. Tensions rise fast, and both groups refuse to back down. That's when the song Don't Mess With Us kicks in, a fast-paced back-and-forth musical showdown that perfectly captures the rising friction. It's full of clever, sarcastic jabs with two sides battling for dominance. Later that night, the Daywalkers and vampires gather around the campfire, finally starting to warm up to each other. Once most of them head to bed, Eliza, Willa, Zed, and Addison stay behind to talk. Eliza and Willa open up about how much they've missed spending time with Addison and Zed, who've been caught up with cheerleading and football. They gently remind them that there's more to life than being a cheerleader or a football star. Zed and Addison step away for a private moment, quietly wondering if Eliza and Willa might be right. But Zed admits that even though he misses his dad and sister Zoe, he didn't work this hard to just sit on the bench. Addison agrees being captain still means a lot to her. Back at the fire, another pulse suddenly strikes, and this time it doesn't just affect Zed. Eliza and Willa feel it too. Alarmed, Eliza calls an emergency meeting in the staff cabin. She has assumed only Zed Z-Band was picking up the pulse since he's tampered with his the most, but it turns out his is simply the most sensitive. Everyone grows uneasy as they realize how fast and frequently the pulses are spreading. If it keeps going at this rate, it could reach Seabrook. Meanwhile, Victor quietly slips out of his cabin and finds Nova outside. Ray, still on the porch, spots her talking to a vampire. After chatting for a bit, an eager and excited Victor tells Nova he has something to show her and leads her to a hidden temple. Inside, they discover ancient symbols representing both daywalkers and vampires, revealing that their two villages once came here together. It's a shocking discovery considering how deeply their towns hate each other now. They open up to each other in the temple. Victor admits he doesn't want to be a leader. He'd rather leave Shady's side behind and see the world. Nova confesses she doesn't think she's a good leader either, especially with a father who insists everything be done his way. They are both stunned to realize they've been dreaming about each other before even meeting, that the surreal connection leads into their couple song, A Dream Come True, which also happens to be my personal favorite from the whole movie. There's just something about it that hits different and perfectly captures the instant spark between Nova and Victor, like they've known each other forever, even though they're total strangers. I love how the lyrics explore fate, connection, and finally feeling seen. It's soft, emotional, and full of vulnerability. And that whole magnet metaphor, being pulled toward each other, fits the dreamy, destined vibe so well. It's one of those rare songs that doesn't just sound beautiful, it actually deepens their character bond in a way that feels real. After their heart-to-heart, they discover a puzzle inside the temple, a rainbow pattern on the floor, and a series of moonstones mounted. After their heart-to-heart, they discover a puzzle inside the temple, a rainbow pattern on the floor, and a series of mounted moon phases. When they align everything in the correct order, they unlock the second key. It's a small but meaningful moment that shows that their connection is already helping them move forward together. The next day, everyone gathers to witness the second key being inserted. As it locks into place, the ground rumbles beneath them, and a large stone ball rises with a warning carved into it. Only one team can win. Tensions spike immediately. The Daywalkers notices a sun symbol, while the vampires spot a moon. And just like that, the uneasy alliance crumbles. Both sides start pushing and shoving, each trying to move the ball toward their own symbol, convinced theirs is the right path. Chaos erupts, showing just how fragile the peace really was and how easily old rivalries can resurface. Nova and Victor begin to question if they were ever truly meant to work together, especially when their teams seem incapable of doing so. In the middle of the chaos, another pulse ripples through the ground. Stronger than before, Zed, Eliza, and Willa are hit hard by the shockwaves, visibly struggling as the energy surges through them. The vampires and daywalkers immediately stop fighting and rush to help them. For a brief moment, concern overrides conflict. Back at camp, Eliza dives into her research and discovers something alarming. Zed's Z-band is being damaged each time the pulse hits. If it continues, the damage could be permanent, and Zed could lose control and zombie out for good. Addison is shaken, but Zed reassures her. He says they'll be fine and tells her she needs to be strong for the others. A short while later, Addison steps outside and tells the other campers that Zed is okay. Meanwhile, Will and Zed team up with Eliza, who uses her device to track the source of the mysterious pulses. She picks up a strong signal, shockingly close to camp. The three follow the readings and discover the energy is coming up from underground. Zed has to zombie out to move a massive rock, blocking the entrance. But some of the Daywalkers are visibly terrified. They've never experienced the darkness before. The vampires find it amusing and can't help